What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building. You feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks. All right, let's get straight right into it. So you already know, man. We had a great weekend of basketball. Obviously, Game 7 was on Saturday with the Nets and the Bucks, and we had Game 7 on Sunday with the Hawks and the Sixers, and a Game 1, obviously, on Father's Day as well with the Suns and the Clippers. So, a lot of stuff happened over the weekend, so it would be tough for me to do a full out breakdown, you know what I'm saying, and for all of these 3 games, because these breakdowns be taking 14 plus hours to do. So, obviously this is what we normally do on Mondays, when obviously after the whole weekend has passed, and especially Sunday, plethora of games. We normally do, we talk about it and break it down just off of that IQ. That's what I do without the footage like that. So, obviously stay tuned, and we're going to talk about obviously some narratives, some things that people don't really highlight. Maybe some people highlight, you never know, but just kind of just what's really transpiring, what the true IQ really is of what's happening or what happened in these games, right? And kind of just the sentiments that really need to be paid attention to and be highlighted and be pointed out of what has transpired in these games. So you already know the first thing we're going to talk about, obviously in chronological order, we're going to talk about the Game 7 that happened on Saturday with, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets were obviously home, you already know, and this was a fully anticipated game, right? And some people expected the Nets to win. I obviously expected the Nets to win. They didn't win, but we have to look into the context of what happened. But, a lot of narratives were debunked, and a lot of, appreciation goes to just first off to the Bucks, to give them credit, because in other years they would have folded in some of these situations that transpired, right? They would have folded. They still found a way to fight through. That's what I might do. You know what I'm saying? They found a way. Giannis at first was missing free throws, even had 2 air balls, but still fought through, even with the crowd counting him down, was still fighting through. And that's why I try to tell people mentality. Like there's multiple levels to a lot of things, right? And there's like, people think that it's one shoe fits all. It's just this and that's it. And there's a lot of context. There's multiple. You have to be able to just gauge. There's a gauge meter that a lot of people don't really have, because you can't really have that gauge meter unless you've really played. You've really been in these situations. You really understand and know what transpires in this. It's hard to kind of have that gauge meter from someone as the outside looking in, where you've never really played. And it obviously doesn't matter what level. It does matter, but it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, if you've been in these situations, you kind of have an idea, right, of what the brain kind of goes into, what kind of, like, what I mean? You're not going to really know those things. So you're going to speak from stats perspective, and this, and you're going to say these things that, the outside person just sees from, instead of being actually in that moment. So, what I mean by that is Giannis, like, people will say Giannis mentally is frail. And I've never said Giannis was mentally frail. I've never said that. I've always said, this is why I've always had Giannis, and Pascal and Giannis have similar play styles where they shoot threes, but they can't really shoot like that. It's a deficiency, right? They'll make here and there or whatever, but their main bread and butter is paint. And that's why I say Giannis is the 2.0 or the 10 times better version of the same Giannis Pascal play style, because mentally, Pascal, you could see how he's frail mentally, right? He's not on that higher level mentally. And a lot of people don't understand what I mean, and how can you gauge mentally when you're not in his head, whatever. I'm like, dog, when certain things transpire, you could gauge, especially being in those moments. How the mental, what the mental wars and the mental battles that the brain goes through in those moments. And when you come out on the other side, or certain things that you show within your play, within the footage, it shows that you've overcome those mental battles, or your mental has thought like this. That, like, you could tell, like, only if you play, only if you know, right? I'm not going to stay on that, but this is why I've always said Giannis was not mentally frail, right? He has a skill deficiency, right? So there's a battle of, he is mentally strong, but his skill isn't as potent. So there's a battle of, I'm mentally here and I want to do this, I want to be this, but my skill doesn't allow me. but I keep fighting. That's how you know he's mentally strong, because he keeps going. They tell him don't shoot threes. He'll keep shooting. They tell him, at the free throw line, most guys won't even attempt and go to the free throw line when they've airballed. Now they change their game. He keeps going, he keeps going, he keeps going, and he keeps trying and trying and trying. When you have someone who keeps trying and trying and trying, that's someone who's mentally strong, because they're literally, it's the same thing in real life. They don't give up, right? It's kind of like, I want this, I want this, I want this. Oh, you get denied, get denied, get denied. You keep going, you keep going, keep going. Most people won't keep going. So the person that keeps going is already mentally strong. They're not mentally frail. There's no mental weakness, right? And that's where I've always rated Giannis on that level. Now, when I said the games won't come down to Giannis, because I know at the end of the day, he lacks ability. So it's always going to come down to Middleton and Drew. And that's what you saw, right? That's exactly what you saw in this game 7 and in other games. That's what you saw. That's why I always said Giannis will get his 40, he'll get his 30, whatever, but it could still result in a loss, because at the end of the day, in the last second situations, the last clutch, tough, it's tight, palm sweaty time, it's going to come down to the ability getters, right? The ability, the arsenal, he's going to come down to that. So, Giannis always was strong mentally, but he had a skill deficiency, while someone like Pascal, actually has more skill than Giannis, right? But he has a mental deficiency. So now he doesn't apply those skills, or, he shies away from, so he won't even attempt. If he misses a 1-2, he's not even going to attempt. He's going to only go to what he knows, You've seen Giannis, even in the fourth, do mid-range pull-ups. You've seen him keep going. And that's why you see people always say, why is he just, I don't get it. Just attack the paint, dog. You can't just run into the paint every time. Sometimes you'll be able to, but you have to keep them honest of a 1-2 mid-range that now opens up your attack the paint even more. And that's what he does. You sag off me. I'm not just going to just allow you to sag off me all the time. I'm going to pull this. I'm confident. Yes, I might miss it, whatever the case is, because my skills impotent, but I'm going to let you know, and I'm going to show man that I'm here. And I've always rated that. That's why I said whether he makes it or not, I always said regular season playoffs was two different things. But at the end of the day, he tries and he keeps going and keeps going. I've always rated him for that. And that's why he's not the same as some guys who lack skill and lack mental. Right? So that's just my kind of, I went on a tangent there, Obviously, there'll be a lot of tangents, and that's how it goes, right? Because I'm just trying to talk about things and how my brain remembers how these things transpired, right? But, at the end of the day, like, it came down. That's why I rate Giannis for that. I've always rated him for that. And this was his best game. In turn, he's still, even when KD picked him up in OT, he did the hook on him. You know what I'm saying? That he got to go. He was making free throws, right? And stuff like that. But it did come down to Middleton and Drew. And, you rate the team, and credit to the team, to the Bucks in general, to fight through, especially, after KD did what he did. Unless, we going to transition to KD, right? KD this whole time, like, I know a lot of people are going to find a way to hate on KD. They're going to find a way to speak negative. They're going to find a way, I told you so, only LeBron and this, that, and they're always going to bring up LeBron. And that's when you know someone is on a threat level, or someone is actually better than someone, they always have to bring up one specific person. They don't bring up other people. They bring up one specific person. And you already know a fan base, what they're going to do. They're always going to find a way, because they know he's been threatening them or killing them or preventing their guy from getting a ring for the longest time, right? And that's why you always see that they always bring him up. They always find a way to, diminish him to advance or shed more light on Braun or whatever. And I don't like to subscribe to those things. I don't like to even bring up other mans when I'm talking about the next man, right? But media, narratives, fan bases, they always bring it up. So now I'm forced to bring up that guy to literally stop discrediting this main guy. Stop discrediting him because you dislike because of this, that, and mans are just biased and like they're salty and hella emotional, right? And I don't bring no emotional bias into anything. It's just about the game is the game. I always say it all the time. The game will tell you what elite looks like. You don't have to, have an affinity for this person or this person. Like, the game will tell you who is elite. The game will really tell you. The footage, the film, the situations, the context will really tell you if you really have a trained eye. You know what I'm saying? So, obviously when it comes to KD, you've seen, like, you got a context, man. This man played 48 minutes in game 5. First of all, the whole series has been playing 40 plus minutes, right? It's playoffs, you already know, right? And even let's go further than that, right? A lot of people, this is what's crazy, especially like Bron fans. What they do is, and I'm gonna bring up Bron fans only because what I've explained prior, but they move the goalposts, right? They do it a lot, and they do it often, and that's what frustrates the purists, because now you taint the game. It's not authentic. Like, you dilute the game and you really mess up what's beautiful, right? And what they do is they because they love the person who they love, so they just never put him in a negative light, right? That's they move, right? So what happens is, when they were up 2-1 versus the Suns, and when Bron was getting a lob from Kuzma and his head was at the rim, they never brought up his ankle. They were clowning, saying, see, the Suns, Bron is this great, this, that. Rightfully so, right? But then now when they start losing, and when he's not carrying in the clutch, like you saw KD just carry, you see Bron pouting, he's like trying to get subbed out and all this type of stuff. Now what they do, the ankle clearly isn't 100%, and they change the narrative, right? But it's not like LeBron rolled his ankle in the playoffs. He rolled it and was out for a minute in the regular season, and then came back. And they said it's time to go. We ready. But in the playoffs, now that it didn't work out, they bring up that same injury that happened pre-playoffs, right? But for KD, same situation. KD has been injured twice, right? Achilles, he even came back. Man didn't even bring up the Achilles because he's ready, so he debunked that and was killing. Then COVID, whatever, we didn't even bring up COVID. But then now he actually went out with a hamstring injury for longer than even LeBron went out. And then he came back and then went out again with the thigh contusion, right? So, and then only had maybe 5 games, same type of small amount of games that LeBron had before playoffs. But not one person, I haven't seen one person in the same context that he has been in LeBron bring up KD was also dealing with a hamstring injury. You know what I'm saying? Like, KD was hobbled. Not one person has brought that up. And that's why I'm like, it's not even about who you like. It's about just being fair, just being honest. If you're going to move the goalpost for one person and they're both elite, then move the goalpost for the next man who's elite as well. You don't do that. Why? Because, again, it exposes your biased love. And that's what I'm here to debunk. I'm here to debunk all those narratives because it's about being fair. When you be fair, and that's what I care about. If you be fair, it takes away all these auxiliary narratives and all this, other stuff and that man's talk about that is irrelevant. It's actually just bullshit. It's just random shit that man's talk about. That's why when you be fair, it's a way of diffusing these other things. And now all we could do is focus on the ability, the game. Because originally you should just focus on that. But mans don't. They want to bring up there, whatever. But now if you move the goalpost for one person, move the goalpost for this person, you're fair. Okay, those narratives now of the race, they canceled each other out. Okay, let's just look what happened, what transpired. And that's what been my motto is. That's what my passion has been for a lot of them, mainly because the passion for the game is the game, but people won't see it like that. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just debunk bare narratives. So at least mans can be like, okay, let me just look at the ability, right? And that's what it resorts to. And that's what I've been doing, right? That's what I've been focusing on because you already know what's been transpiring with everybody. But, I try to do that because at the end of the day, the main thing is the main thing. The game is the game, the ability to work, the arsenal. That's what it all comes down to. That's what it always, at the end of the day, comes down to. So when you look at KD from that perspective, man, there's no way you watched him in Game 5, 48 minutes. Game 6, 40-plus minutes. Game 7, 53 minutes. And you're seeing him carry, bucket after bucket after bucket. You're thinking the game is over. It's literally a 4-point game. People are like, oh my goodness, 4-point game, 40-something seconds left. For you to make it to go to overtime or win the game, you have to have everything go your way. Meaning you have to control everything. You have to do perfection on your end and then perfection defensively. And that's what they did. Timely stops. KD came down, pull up on PJ Tucker, splashy if you ask me, swish. I'm like, I know. I even tweeted, KD, is that time. It's not over. Put the team on your shoulder. And that's what I say. When you put a team on your shoulder and you carry and you carry and you carry, why would I ever say it's your fault? You're not elite. Like, it's a team game. We all know it's a team game. No one has won by themselves. But in specific moments at the end, there's been guys who have won by themselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I try to highlight. And that's why you see guys get praised more than other guys. There's hierarchy. But at the end of the day, it's still a team game. Some of those guys had to get a crucial stop. Some of those guys had to rebound. A guy had to box out. A man had to set the screen. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's all of these things that transpire. Mans have to have IQ, intangibles, die for loose balls. Like, all of, like, it's the team game. It's always been a team game. But it's funny how they say it's a team game. This is what they do. They say it's a team game for when LeBron loses. And then for when LeBron's winning, they say LeBron carried. He did everything. You see what I'm saying? They move the goalpost. But for other people, you know what I mean? Like, anyways, we're not going to stick on that. But anyways, you see, perfect. He had to be perfect. 2 for 2 down the stretch. Right? Bucket. Came down, got a stop. Right? I think what happened, yeah, or went out of bounds or whatever, then they had to get another stop. Brook Lopez couldn't get a shot off. Okay? And it was perfect because it was 2 for 1. You're going to get a next opportunity. And now what happens? Last shot, down 2. KD, you already know, timeout, we have the ball. And this is how you know the audacity, the elite ability, the higher echelon that KD's on, the best player, not even a dispute. And he's been that from time. But how? Like, most times when you're down 2, and this is what I tried to highlight on social media when during the uproar of everything happening, right? And when it actually transpired. The man, KD, actually, most times when you're down 2, like, this is why I say there's pressure and there's tears to everything, right? When you're most of the times you'll see a guy go for the 3, or you'll see a guy have a lead ability or whatever when there's a cushion, right? It's a tie game, right? You know, there's a cushion, you're going to take a pull-up. But then you also see guys who lack ability. If they're down 2, they're just going to run and try to draw a foul, or run and try and get an easy layup or like a guaranteed take. This man said, I'm going to end the game. That was his mentality. That was his thought process. Whether it happened or not, he said, I'm going to end the game. Down 2. That's the utmost pressure. When you're down in the clutch, and it's literally do or die. It's not make or, make and cushion. It's none of that. Do or die. Do or die. The man could have easily went for the same PJ Tucker take he did. Mid-range take, go to overtime. Whew, we good. He went for the most difficult route. You have so many options you could go to. Run to the paint, right? Try to draw foul, right? Go for a hezzy pull-up or go for a pull-up in the mid-range, right? This is the levels of difficulty. Or go for a 3. He didn't even just choose go for a 3. He chose go for the most difficult 3, a post fade. He chose the most difficult route, the most difficult outcome, or he chose the most difficult path for the dub in the most difficult time while down 2. Like, that is something that, like, you have to understand that he is different. To do that, that's that brain capacity, that you have to live on a higher echelon to even have the audacity and the belief to know I'm going to hit this. I'm going to do this. The man did a post fade. It wasn't a spin fade because it wasn't fluid. He stopped mid and then went. So it turned into a post fade. The man did a turnaround post fade left shoulder from 3 to end the game. And it all came down to a big toe. That's what it came down to. Just think about it. Middleton talked about it. We got lucky. Sometimes you need luck to win. We got lucky because if his foot was behind the line, you already know that they're not doing nothing that last possession. Harden switched aggressively and canceled Middleton out the play. Throw to Giannis. You know he's not making that. That would have been game. That's why you seen KD's went like this when he first made it. Because he's like, I'm that guy. I went for the 3. You already know. Clean in. And it just came down to a big toe. Like, how could you see that and do whatever happens in overtime? How could you see a man basically get a game winner, or not a game winner, now it's a game tire because his toe, and literally ridicule him for overtime when you know he's played 53 minutes and know the context of everything and know that he's been getting every bucket by himself? And then you see, even on the air ball, oh my God, he airballed. The thing was on target online. Withdrew on him, tried to do the same thing. I don't want to go to a next overtime. Like, mans are gassed. The whole overtime, what's the context? There's only been 2 field goals for the Bucks and 1 field goal for Brooklyn. Bruce Brown put back layup, and then for a minute, for like 2-3 minutes, no man made a field goal on both ends. And then finally, It was what's it called? Giannis with I think the floater that he made. Let me check exactly who it was. My fault. Yeah, Giannis with because Blake fouled out. Now even Katie as well too is like, I'm a guard Giannis too now. So that's even, Giannis is running into his chest, got away with an offensive foul. They called it off, Katie's foot, whatever. And then he's battling. So you're even now exerting more energy. Getting your chest banged up, boom, boom. Exerting more energy. That man could have said, no, I'm going to stay on Lopez. Jeff Green go guard him. But he knows Jeff Green been getting fried by Giannis. I'm going to guard him. And he had to make a tough one, and he made it. And then Middleton made a spin shot. Those are the only 2 buckets for Milwaukee versus 1 bucket for Bruce. So it's not like KD was the only one missing. The difference is he took 6 shots. That's the difference. He said it's not going to be, I'm just going to be pouting and I'm not going to take a shot, 1 shot. No, I'm going to take all 6. And we're going out on the strength of me. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying. The man even passed to Harden. Create something. Do your step back. You haven't shot in a minute. Go ahead. I'm burst. Gave it right back. Gave it right back. That's how you know I'm like that. There's levels to everything. And then what did he do? I'm going to do the same take. And again, big toe was on the line even if he made it. But it was on target. It was just short. There's literally fatigue. You can't, that's what I'm saying. Fatigue. People throw around the word fatigue in other scenarios because fatigue is getting thrown around because, they just, he's fatigued. Anytime someone misses in the clutch or whatever, they think it's always fatigue. It's cap. A lot of the times it's nerves. You could tell by the take, first of all. If the take is an ability take that he was taking in the first quarter and he missed it short, fatigue. Or he's frying in the fourth quarter, fatigue. Yep, I rock with you because you could clearly see. He ran out of gas, shot after shot after shot. But now a man is MIA and he just took only 2 shots and you're going to tell me fatigue? No, it's not. Man's palms were sweaty. But people don't play, so they don't know they don't know what happens in those moments. Like, every man. Now, originally, when you get into the league, and not even just the league, in play and stuff like that, every man, like with the every man's human. So with the the crowd and the pressure and everything, every man's heart beating, every man gets nervous. But their mental game, they're so elite on a mental capacity that you calm those stuff down. That's why you say you don't get too high, you don't get too low. You have a mental capacity or a mental kind of dynamic to just cancel that. It's the same thing. Everyone panics in a moment. Someone's robbing a house, everyone panics, and then you have the ones who are of them ones that go, we good. I'm gonna calm down. Okay, good. Do this. Do that. You calm the team. That's a character makeup. That has nothing to do with skill. That's a mentality makeup. That's why I try to highlight people that is 80% mental and then 20% skill. The skill won't ever be used if the mental isn't on a certain caliber in those moments. And that's what you see in these moments. So for Katie is perfection. When skill meets elite mental. That's Kobe, that's MJ, that's what you see. That's Mamba mentality. That's literally what it is. I'm going to do all the try. So when you see a guy try like that, fry like that, to the end all be all, like, there's no way you could watch that game and watch KD do all of that and actually have the audacity to say, oh, he's not LeBron, or he's not this person, or he doesn't care, he's not good, he airballed. If that was LeBron that airballed, yes, because if LeBron airballed, LeBron won, he passed the possession earlier and he didn't get 4 straight buckets, so his airball means something because he just took the shot and he airballed. KD just got a game tire. If you get a game tire and you snap in those clutch moments and then now you airball, okay, come on now. That's the context. Man, just isolate the airball. Yes, if LeBron airball, people would roast him because, in the clutch, he's not consistent in terms of I'm going to sometimes pass, I'm going to sometimes shoot, I'm going to get the bucket, or that's the difference. That's the difference. And I didn't even want to make it about that because it's not about that. But man's bring it up. That's what that like is. There's levels to everything. Dame frying and he lose to Jokic. That's literally similar what happened. Go to a next OT, hit the 3 or whatever, hit the shot to go to OT. Like, that's what KD was doing. And then now Dame airballs a shot. Mans aren't gonna say, yo, Dame is wacky. He's not clutch. He airball. Like, are you serious? Did you not just see what happened? Like, well, come on now. Like, bruh. I'm not even gonna harp on that. But like, at some point, man, just have to realize this is the best player. Again, you need some type of luck. You need teams to hit shots. You need a team to win. It's never one player. And I never always say that's why you always hear me say situations are everything. Obviously, you're different. Even if you find a way to get the win, it's about the win, right? That obviously makes you different. But if you're doing everything to get the win and you just don't win, But if you are snapping, you are carrying, you're putting the team on your back, it's not the same as someone who doesn't put the team on the back and now they lose. It's not the same context. You're literally just one knock off of the only difference is you just didn't get the win. But it's the same. You snapped and he got the win versus you snapped and then you didn't get the win is literally the same thing but the win. So it's just slightly different. But if you carry to the end and you're that guy, your team sometimes can get outmatched. It happens. You're not going to win every single situation. It doesn't happen like that. That's why I always focus on what do you do as the guy? What do you do? What do you do? Do you put the team on your back or do you play doo-doo? That's what happens. And what do you do? You can't get the praise when your team wins and then get knocked. Like, what do you do? If you snap, I promise you, it's never your fault. The team, everybody knows that. You're going to see Joe Harris put his head down. Oh, man. Like, Joe Harris, bruh, that open three he had, bruh, it would have been a different. And, you know, I don't like to blame role players. I only blame role players when the main guy is the main guy. If the main guy isn't the main guy, you won't ever hear me say nothing about a role player because they're not supposed to carry. Like, you always heard me say that sentiment. I take pride in, like, when I praise a guy, it is rightfully so. Like, because the game shows you. Like, this is why basketball is so, like, even though it's a team game, one person could literally dictate so much, could change so much, can put the team on their back. Like, in most sports, it's not like that in team game. But, you know, in basketball, one guy could literally change a whole outcome, defensively and offensively, or only offensively. Like, he could change a whole outcome. So if you're that guy, you're really that guy. And if you're not being that guy, I'm not going to ever bring up a role player, because why would I bring up a role player if the main guy wasn't that guy? That's B. That's tier 2. You know what I'm saying? Of excuse or blaming. I always will blame the main guy. I will give the guy praise. He gets the like. That's a level. That's a road that not everybody could mentally could take on that challenge. Like, there's levels to why being a main guy is different. It comes with a lot of praise, but it comes with a lot of negative as well too. If you don't like, that's why your performance has to matter. So KD going to work, I'll never blame him. Like, look what we saw. But now that he went to work, Joe Harris, you got to hit one. You hit 3 threes. That was even the 1-3 he hit, boom, 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 like, bruh. And it was kind of like, okay, is the floodgates happening? Wide open looks. Even man coming off the screen, Lopez is in drop coverage. He's wide, normal Klay Thompson ability, curling. Like, the man just bricking. This is why Klay Thompson is Klay Thompson, because he don't brick those. There's levels to this. I didn't say he's Klay because of the makes. I said he's Klay because of the ability. You know what I mean? The way he pulls it. But clearly, like, the moment was just too big for Joe. Now, again, next year when they come back fully healthy and all of that type of stuff, this will be a learning experience. I do think Joe will probably fight through. Like, he kept shooting it, which you do rate. Like, he didn't just shy away and pass. Like, he kept shooting it. But he was mentally, and I know that Nash was saying that they didn't really talk to Joe. They know he knows that he's got to improve or whatever. See, that's where I disagree. Like, that's where I feel like, and maybe he just didn't want to say nothing because it's media, right? But at some point when a man is struggling like that, sometimes you leave them. Like, when it's first early, like game 1, game 2, you leave them. He knows. Like, he's already mad at himself. Like, come on now. Like, these are NBA players. Like, they're talented. They already know. Like, when they're sussing the runs, they know more before anybody, right? They know. So, but then at some point, that's where, like, Kobe don't play like Kobe, MJ. There's those guys that will go to him like, yo, what are you doing? Make the shot, fam. You see me trying all, like, or they'll encourage them, but in a Kobe like MJ like Mamba mentality way. Yo, it's me. I'm out here. Like, come on, yo, you have to. At some point, wake up. They slap the man or whatever they do. Wake up, and then the man wakes up. He snaps out of it. Because sometimes it's mental. It's literally like, oh, I got to make the shot. Sometimes now, when you haven't made a shot and everyone knows and there's a looming cloud like, yo, you got to make. Now in your brain, when you're shooting, you're not just shooting. You're literally thinking when you're shooting, yo, I have to make the shot. Please make the shot. I got to make the shot. Like, you're thinking when you're shooting in your brain. You're not just shooting it like, yo, I'm about to make this. Are you dumb? Like, the confident. Now you're like, you're hoping to make. And you're getting nervous. So your brain, like, it's a battle. You're battling yourself mentally. So, sometimes you just need a slap to snap out of it to where you don't think and you just shoot it like you normally would do. And, some people need that slap. Some people will slap themselves, right? So, and maybe they're thinking Joe's the type that will slap himself because we trust him. Like, he's gone, he's a shooter. Like, it's a shooter. This is a shooter this is what the shooter goes through in regular season. Every game, like, the shooter goes through this mental war all the time. Their face might look blank, but their head, they go through this. This is the life of a shooter. So they're probably thinking, like, come on, this is normal. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's clear, like, it literally was the pressure, the bright lights was way too big for Joe. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the times, every player literally goes through. Giannis has gone through this. KD, not to this level, obviously. That's what I'm talking about. But like every player has gone through where they have a moment and they don't come through in that moment and they suss the run, they miss a shot, they miss 5 shots, whatever it is. And you have that moment in your career, and then the next moment you come, you know what to do differently, and then you come through if you're really of that ilk, right? And that's where I say the mentally strong, they find a way. That you're gonna have those like beginner moments. So Joe hasn't really had pressure games of this altitude or of this magnitude, right? So this is his first one. So for him to come through in his first one, he would have to normally, like you see D Book and like superstar Trae Young, like that's what they do. Like the role player, like, sometimes they don't come through in that, and then now the next one. So that's what will help for next year. It will be a learning, improvement. But Joe, man, damn, that 1-3 off the offensive rebound, that would have changed the whole outcome, because now you put the pressure on them, and maybe Middleton doesn't hit that shot because now you're down, right? You're down. It's not a tie game, right? So it's just a lot of things transpired, and at the end of the day, I tip my hat off to both teams. It was a great series, and before I even finished this, because obviously I talked about it long, and I didn't mean to, but we have other things to talk about as well too. A lot of things transpired, but let's also talk about Harden, man. Let's talk about Harden and, Harden / Nash in the coaching decision. So Harden was injured, and I know a lot of people will find a way to like, oh, Harden. Like, there's a lot. I don't know how you could watch what you watch and get a complete negative sentiment about Harden. Like, he choked and stuff like that. Like, are you serious? Like, the man is on a grade 2 hamstring playing. That should be nothing but respect. Playing on a grade 2 hamstring when he didn't have to play, you know what I'm saying? And he's trying, giving it his all. He's literally half or a shell of himself. You already know that. So yes, he still could have made a one shot. And even then, he even got that lucky bank. I was like, whew, you got a bank? You match Giannis's bank and you got a bank? It's destined. That's what Mans was thinking. That's why that game winner, it literally was destined. But the toe, the toe. The toe by Katie. But anyways, like Harden, like, the fact that he like was trying and even was able to have 22 points, he had the second most amount of points on a one leg. That's a testament to his greatness. There's nothing negative about that. The only negative I got from the Harden playing wasn't from Harden himself individually, but it was from Nash not earlier giving it to where KD runs the show like he did in Game 5. Bring up the ball and play initiate. And that's where he was getting more assists. That's where you'll see Joe get more, like, on his pull-up, a guy helps and stuff like that. I also thought that, it's hard to say, obviously, in hindsight, because now you see all the results, and now you can speak, right? I always thought from the beginning that, DeAndre Jordan probably should have been playing. And I know they're going to look at Giannis going to work in the Milwaukee mini series versus the Nets near the end of the regular season, where Giannis was frying DeAndre Jordan, but he wasn't frying him from just killing him in the paint, because Blake has been scored in the paint as well too. But the reason why Blake was able to guard up and body up, one, because of his strength, right? And he cut him off, and DJ has enough of that strength to cut him off and meet him with the length as well too. But Blake would sag off, and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, Giannis was missing. Giannis shooting was not the same shooting. Giannis killed in that miniseries from shooting. It wasn't from just paint. It was from shooting, and then now the paint came after. It was literally shooting. He literally caught fire. And that's why I'm like, you can't overreact. And I know media made them overreact and stuff like that. Like, he caught fire. And, like, I would have had DJ sag off and play the same defense. And if Middleton kills you off catching fire and shooting threes, and you could clearly see that wasn't the case. That was never going to happen. Even with Jeff Green on him, he wasn't just shooting threes and splashing. Like, that wasn't the case. It was going to the paint. He's not running into the paint on DJ and killing him. Like, that's not happening. Right? So, like, there'll be a 1-2 times it happens. Obviously, even with Blake, a 1-2 times it happened. But overall, like, that, I thought that would have been the better game plan. Not only that, offensively now, when DJ is setting screens for KD, that automatically puts Lopez in a drop coverage. Drop coverage normally happens due to the personnel of the screener. For perfect example of like you seen even with Ayton last night. If you have a screener who could roll well, could catch lobs, and is a lob threat, even with Rudy Gobert, automatically, one, you either switch everything or you play drop coverage. You're not gonna switch everything because Brook Lopez is not switching on to KD. That's an island. I'ma fry him. That's not happening. So you play. Normally he plays up on the screen and gets back, but it's harder to. Blake is not in a lob situation anymore. He's just catching lobs over the back and X, Y, and Z. Like sometimes he's popping stuff like that. So like you know what I mean. A lot of the times KD could get doubled for a moment and you could cancel the whole pick. But the drop coverage you automatically have to go to with DeAndre Jordan because he's a lob threat. He's gonna roll every time. So that's gonna open up more easier takes and looks for KD in the drop. A perfect example was like when Middleton was running the screen. You have to go over the screen and fight through. And that you've seen that even with Drew. They didn't switch properly because Giannis is a lob threat. So Drew did the escape in the fourth quarter and killed Harden on that escape dribble to the right and off the pull-up, right? Middleton will go off the thing and pull up in gaps as well, too, off the mid-range because Giannis, when he sets the screen, is dropped. When Brook Lopez sets the screen, they switch because Brook Lopez isn't a hella roll threat. He's popping and stuff like that, right? So it's the personnel. So I thought they should have played DeAndre. This series, I thought that from the jump. And then based off of what you see, then adjust. But don't just erase him completely. I thought that was a mistake. I always thought it was a mistake, right? Obviously, it was working and it was favorable and stuff like that. But I always thought that if Giannis just put his head down and ran to the rim, he was going to be unstoppable without, like, they needed DeAndre. DeAndre was the one. Blake did a great job at times, and he was patting him, especially in the first couple games or whatever. But when his mindset changed and he was more successful, he was getting. That's why Blake was in foul trouble because Blake still wasn't able to guard that push over Euro. He will either do the Euro or he'll do the crossover. He'll do the crossover and then fake like he's Euro. He'll push over and then fake like Euro and go same way. He does that all the time. He did that on Blake every time. And then when Jeff will guard him, and even when Blake will guard him when he's on the block and he faces up on the left block, all he would do is face up, jab step, and then just one dribble to the left and then into your chest and then go up. He did that. He did the same 3 moves every time. He did the same 3 moves. And that's not going to work on DeAndre because even if he goes into DeAndre's chest, he's long. So he goes into his chest and he can still block him. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to, it's different. So I always thought DJ, I know people would think, he's going to kill DJ. Like, he killed DJ from jump shots. He's not killing from jump shots. So, I always thought that was a mistake. And then not only that, the mistake of not playing Harden in the off-ball role. And you seen Harden was struggling catching and shooting, and then he at least tried to do it later. But he probably would have more points if he was just only catching and shooting. You know what I'm saying? Because KD was just play initiating. And obviously maybe KD would have been more tired, but I thought they probably would have got more of a cushion. Those droughts that they went on where Harden went out, run the ball and whatever, and then you're getting late second shot clocks. You even saw that in overtime where KD has to shoot a one-legged runner and it almost went in from near half. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of it was low clock situations and guys being put in bad situations because the Harden being playing this year, he's not able to move. So you're just wasting time and time is clicking and all these PNRs are canceled because Harden's not able to move. Normally he'll take advantage in a little gap and run to the paint, blow by Euro and draw foul, whatever. He still drawed fouled and was doing great with intangibles and his smarts. But, overall it was tough to, it was just tough. He was hobbled. So I thought that, I thought Nash could have. That's the only thing I thought he could have probably did better. But again, he's trusting Harden's intangibles and his smarts and with all of that. But the DJ component, I thought he should have done. But he did adjust him. He played Jeff Green. He only played Jeff Green when Giannis was in the game because they played Giannis more. That limited Jeff Green's minutes, right? It wasn't people were like, oh my God, Jeff Green wasn't. No, because Jeff Green, when he guarded Giannis, got scored 90% of the time on. He did. So that's why you've seen it's Jeff Green can't guard him. He just doesn't have the angle capacity, the strength to match up with him. So Jeff Green was getting fried. He was. And I've been saying that from time. So they knew and they watched film. So they adjusted. They said, we're going to play Blake when he's going to match. Whenever Giannis is out, that's what we're going to do. And it eventually got him fouled out. And then KD had to switch to him. But, you know what I mean? They were adjusting. People won't see the adjustments, but they Nash didn't just, I know people are ridiculing Nash, obviously, because now he lost. Same way they would have ridiculed Bud now if he lost. People do that. It's always in hindsight, right? But, I there wasn't too much negatives that he did other than those 2 things I highlighted. But DJ, I definitely thought should have played because the benefits he would have brought offensively as well too, like a different dynamic, which would have enabled KD even more. But again, we don't want to make this too long, but it literally was what elite looks like. Like KD, his ability, man. Like, dog, that was amazing. That was literally top 3 ability. Like, this is why I say the Holy Trinity is literally MJ, Kobe, KD. Like, those 3 in terms of ability is just potent. Like, you never see nothing like those 3. And if you disagree, like, we have to really question, like, the level of eye or the trained eye you have, because, there's literally nothing but that. I'll talk about in the offseason. I'll get into all of that, especially that's what I like to do in the offseason, talk about more so like throwback type stuff, and we'll talk about more of that in more in-depth context. But that ability, that, like, dog, what you saw from KD and people, like, especially that game winner, it went over their heads. Like, people don't really understand the audacity, like the type of breed you have to be on to even attempt that, to try that, to pull it off, and given that situation, like, that's like, it went over people's head. It's literally like, rappers when they go in their lyrical bars and their lyrical context and their lyrical, like, bag, and they go over, like, it goes over your head, and people don't really, you have to go to Rap Genius and go see what actually man said. Like, that's what you saw from KD. That a lot of people, they just erased it. They kind of like, they went to everything else, right? Obviously, because the game went past that. But that's why you see Milton say, like, we got lucky. Like, their season would have been done, and it would have been, Nets and obviously the Hawks, which would have been a skill battle, a crazy skill battle. That's what it would have been, right? But, the basketball gods had to, like, it wasn't in God's plan, like KD said. So you already know, man. I just, like, don't ridicule Harden, for real. Like, people are giving LeBron an ankle excuse, and you can't give Harden a hamstring excuse. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, that's why I say moving the goalposts. You just see it, like, you could just see it, man. You could just see it. But anyways, you already know it's true. It's true talks, man. At the end of the day, we gonna go into the context. We have other ones. I brain farted there. I'm not ending. We keep going. And, we're going to talk about next things as well, too. You already know there's 2 other games we have to get to. So, bruh, this is what elite looks like, man. I just want to, KD gave us something great, man. I appreciated what I saw, what I witnessed. What we witnessed was greatness. So just appreciate it, man. We might not ever see a display. Well, we will see. And, like, that's what people don't understand, too. Like, another thing. This is KD coming back from Achilles injury doing all of this disgusting shit, man. So, like, bruh, off an Achilles injury, that's what he's doing, this disgusting shit after Achilles injury. Like, you gotta understand, like, that's different, man. That's different. Like, and people don't understand, and I know people forget about it, but this is his year 1 playing off an Achilles injury. Yes, he had a year and a bit half rest, but when you come back, there's nothing that emulates NBA basketball, especially now playoff basketball. Nothing that emulates that, no matter how much you practice, whatever. So, when you look from it from that perspective, normally when someone comes off a major injury, that first year is kind of the, getting your rhythm, getting accustomed to just your new body and how your new body is going to act and react to certain things in the flow of a game and with the intensity, with the contact, all of that, right? Now, normally, it's the next year. It's the same thing you saw with Paul George. It's the same thing you saw with Gordon Hayward. You've seen this with other people as well, too. A major injury, a catastrophic injury. Normally, the second year is when they hit the gates running. So take it in. In his first year, he already hit the gates running. What do you think is going to happen second year? What do you think is going to happen in year 2? What do you think is going to happen in year 2? Let's just be real. So that's why I'm like, yo, man's are in for a rude awakening. Like I said, the only thing that could beat the Nets was health. And even with the health, they still pushed it. People thought it was done, like it was going to be done in 6, like boom, 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 and it's a wrap. KD's never been in this situation, like, all of that type of fugazi narrative. And then you've seen, like, when someone has the lead ability, when situations present themselves, if they're really of that ilk, they're gonna thrive no matter what because of the ability. It's people who don't have that ability that won't thrive in this and that, and like they never been in that. They're like, he's, like I said, he has the mental capacity and he has the skill capacity of that ilk. So he's always, like, there's nothing that's ever going to limit him. Nothing that's ever going to guard him. Like, all of that. Like, come on now. So, again, year 2, you're like, injuries was the only thing that could have hindered the Nets. And that's what hindered them. Let's be honest. But still, KD didn't use an excuse. The Nets didn't use an excuse. And they were literally a toe away from advancing. A toe away. A toe. A toe away. Crazy, man. It's crazy, man. At the end of the day, it's what elite looks like. So, bruh, man, I was just happy for what I saw, man. If the Nets were going to go out, this was the best case scenario that they could have went out by a toe. Because, man, no, we different, though. That's what it is. So, you already know, man. I appreciate that at the end of the day from KD, man. I appreciate it, man. That was elite. That was hella elite, bruh. That was greatness. Greatness personified, man. All right, so let's go on to the next, boy.